We all have stories. Stories inspired by culture, competition, creativity. Stories show our humanity. They inspire us to greatness and remind us to be humble. Stories connect us to our communities and the rest of the world. We are the Chutta people, and these are our stories. See and share them at togetherwe'remore.com.
It's caught Hollywood! Lights, camera, action, Hollywood Brown! CeeDee Lamb still running! It's a corner! CeeDee! For the TD!
People don't know what it is to be champions. Oklahoma invented it.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Through the Keyhole. Awesome show today because all four of us are here. It's always a good time when you got all four hosts. It's always a good time. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the old friends and welcome to the new friends that are just finding us because you're like the rest of us and just starve for OU football talk. And you're searching the algorithms, you're searching the podcast feeds, the YouTube feeds, and you've stumbled upon Through the Keyhole. Welcome to the crazy train. Hopefully you enjoy it. I'm Brady Trantham alongside one Peyton Guthrie. Peyton.
Lito, how are you guys?
We're doing well. Your Spurs are down 1-2, a lot better than 0-3, so vibes are good.
It's as close as close as a series can be after 3 games. That's how I'm shaping it in my mind.
Not a bad way to live. Also with us, one Alan Kinney. Alan, how are we doing?
Yo, doing well, thanks.
And then Matt Burton, fresh off the radio from 45 minutes ago. Matt, let's talk about sports again.
Let's do it, man. Let's diving right back in. Let's go, baby.
Yep. We want to give a special shout out to our lovely, lovely sponsors. That would be Kaizen Performance Gym, best gym in Norman, Moore, Oklahoma City. If you're in the area and you're looking for a new gym, go check out Kaizen Performance. Really easy to find, really easy to get to. It's the best gym in the world. I say that because I go there and it's helped me a lot and it'll help you a lot if you're interested. And then, of course, our title sponsor, the Choctaw Nation. Go to togetherwe'remore.com. for Peyton's main gig. Go see his fine work there at togetherwe'remore.com. Also, shout out to our lovely patrons at patreon.com/throughthekeyhole. Go check that out if you are interested in helping support the show. This does not exist without support from our lovely patrons, and we truly appreciate them. Then, of course, go check out keyholepod.com. That is the free website that we have. And then, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, MySpace even. We'll put you in our top 8 if you follow us on MySpace. And then leave us a 5-star rating and review. Spotify comments. We love it. We're getting so close to college football. We're getting so close. Also, for the shout-out section, yes, Peyton, did you have something?
I was going to say to if you're not all the way bought in on the Patreon, go check it out. I think you can do a free membership for a little while to kind of test it. I've started launching the summer preview series. I already have previews up for UTEP and for Michigan, bringing those guys on. And then next week, we'll go live with probably the only New Mexico Lobos Oklahoma-based preview that you're going to see this summer. That will be recorded and published, I believe, on Monday.
There is a New Mexico, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news on Through the Keyhole. There is a new one.
On the moon?
We welcome the existence of the newest Mexico. Welcome to the show. Go check out Peyton's work at patreon.com/throughthekeyhole for extra Keyhole content, extra podcasts you can go listen to, get geared up as we get closer and closer to SEC Media Day, which for OU is July 21st. So we're just a few weeks and a month out until we can start really getting into football mode. But also another special shout out, and we don't really cover softball or baseball on this podcast, but OU baseball, Skip Johnson, back in the College World Series, the second time in 5 years, an improbable run that started with them winning the Atlanta Regional, beating the snot out of the number 2 team in the country, Georgia Tech, and then going up to Lawrence, our old friends at Kansas, and beating the ever-loving crap out of them in 2 games for a sweep. for the right to be one of college baseball's final 8 teams up in Omaha. So that is awesome. Very happy to see that. Skip Johnson's pretty cool. Fun guy to cover, fun guy to talk baseball. So happy for them. And hopefully they can make a dent in the College World Series. So that's been really fun to follow. But, like we've kind of done this thing the last few weeks, guys, where there hasn't been a lot of OU football talk. And so we've kind of just leaned on what's dominated the sports discussion across the country. And fortunately for us in Oklahoma, for the previous two and a half weeks, it was the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs in the Western Conference Finals, 7-game series, fairly epic, a lot of fun to watch. But the Thunder aren't playing anymore. So with all due respect to Peyton, I don't know how many Spurs fans listen to us. So we'll keep our finals discussion at a minimum. If we get to a point where it's at the end of the show, we want to talk about it, we will. But we're going to skirt that to the back. But at the same time, there is something that has occurred in college football that takes major precedent over us talking about ESPN releasing a top 100 rankings of players in college football and OU having 3 of them. So we will get to the OU specific talk in a minute. But we need to talk about what's going on down in Lubbock with Brendan. I need to keep telling myself it's Brendan Sorsby, not Brandon, not any other variation thereof. It is Brendan Sorsby, and him receiving an injunction, which basically means he is eligible to play this season, to play college football, despite the fact that he was caught gambling over and over and over and over and over again, up to the tune of $90,000 gambling for his team. There was apparently a bet that he made that was the under for yards. The under. He bet the under of yards accumulated by the quarterback that started over him at Indiana. And so while he did not necessarily bet against Indiana, I don't really know how you could argue that one.
Well,
my friend.
The other one was the under of their first half point total.
Yeah. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. There's a lot to talk about with this one. I think we're going to spend quite a bit of time with this topic. But before we get kind of deep into the weeds, I just want to get everyone's general reactions to it, because, Twitter was a firestorm as soon as I saw the graphic that had his picture on it and eligible, because I thought this was done with by this point a few days ago. And he got caught gambling. Gambling is a sports sin. You just can't have players gambling. You've destroyed the integrity of the game. People will question outcomes more so than they already do, because a lot of the NBA's rigged discourse it's disingenuous. It's just like fans coping with their team losing. Whatever. There's a reason why that ref went to prison for rigging games and making calls that were impacted by betting lines and whatever. So, Peyton, I wanted to start with you. With Brendan Sorsby now being eligible for 2026, what was your initial reaction when you saw it on social media the other day or wherever you heard it first?
Well, one, I found it to be extremely surprising that the judge would rule an injunction on this, because that means that the court deems that Sorsby would win in a court of law, right? I mean, at that point in time, he's saying like, hey, we believe on the merits of the case that once a full thing or whatever, we believe this would happen. They have gone this. There is some differences. I know some people will point out. Now I was trying to figure out some talking points about the Decker situation at Iowa State versus this. There are some differences there that we'll get into. But to me, it was just very, very, just surprising that Texas Tech would even do this right at this point in time. It seems extremely shameless. And then the other one is just surprising that the court would come to that conclusion when we've seen reported evidence, I guess at this point in time, that Deckers has broken the law, like the actual law, not just like NCAA bylaws or whatever. Like if he was actually wiring money out of state of Texas in order to place bets, and he committed actual law. I mean, he broke the law. So I'm very confused about that side of it. I know you've got some stuff you want to talk about with Colin Cowherd and Bomani, and I went and listened to those to try to get where their mindsets are. I do have some level of empathy towards some of those arguments, and some of those arguments I think are more clear than others. I don't think Colin had a very good argument, to be honest with you. I think Bomani had a little more eloquent of an argument that makes a little more sense. But I don't know. I think I was just mainly just kind of shocked. I'm trying to read it all through and kind of figure it out. I'm reading some like different law firms, and they're breaking it down. This does much more to college football than just allow Sorsby to play, which I think is potentially more interesting. But when people are talking about, hey, this could just be the thing that causes everything to break, there's some stuff in this injunction that if it goes through fully and completely, I think would cause the NCAA to break, but it wouldn't be about Sorsby at this point in time.
Okay. I get it. Alan, how did it tickle you?
Well, like the most interesting part of it to me really is Texas Tech's role in this. And I say that because this seems like such a self-defeating position for a football program to take, or a university, just because, players betting on the outcome of games is, it's a cardinal sin in sports for a reason. I mean, if there's no integrity, if you can't assure the integrity of results, then you don't have a sport at all. It's you have the WWE really. And so for Tech to take this position, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, I understand like that there's a short-term benefit for it, but it's kind of like, it's very, I guess the saying is like, penny wise, pound foolish, or something like that. Like that's the part that I just don't get. Like, you just don't do this.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what Texas Tech is doing, and there's a part of me that understands why they're doing it. I mean, I get it. I get why. I don't question why they're doing it. It's just the audacity, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So, I mean, Matt, you've probably talked about this, now, a handful of times on the radio. So, I mean, where is your mind kind of come to based on like where it started when this kind of dropped 2 days ago compared to what it is now?
Yeah, I mean, when it dropped, I was like, my initial reaction was literally, if this dude is allowed to play one single snap of football in any NCAA institution, like just fold the sport up, honestly. Like just fold the sport up. It's done. It's cooked at that point. Man, he just, and then now too, and Tyler and I were talking about this today. We're kind of just fully side-eyeing Joey McGuire. Like, dude, get this guy off your team. What do you run your program, dude? Like, how are you allowing this to happen? Like, I'm sorry. Like, is this dude worth it? Is he worth all this distraction and everything? And hey, every time he throws a pick, everyone's going to be thinking the exact same thing. Every time he fumbles the football, everyone's going to be thinking the exact same thing about your team. And I mean, I don't know. It just read
that
Alan
quote,
said,
Matt. Read that quote that you sent me in our group chat based on some opposing coach about Brendan Sorsby, because
I think
because
put this out. Yeah.
Another question I had was, because I don't follow Cincinnati football, I've just kind of assumed that Sorsby is okay. I know he's big. I know he's fast. I don't know how good he is. I've just assumed that he's not that good, because I know Tech has a lot of money, but if he was actually good, he'd go to USC to go play for Lincoln Riley. He would go to another school where it's like a quarterback factory into the NFL. He chose to take all the money. And my general rule is, if you're going to Nebraska, if you're going to Missouri, if you're going to Texas Tech, my initial thought is your driving force is not just, I want to be the best. It's, I want to make the most money. So it kind of, my question kind of falls under like, how good are you? But anyway, read this quote if you don't mind.
Yeah, this was actually Bruce Feldman tweeted this out. He was talking to one Big 12 personnel director. The personnel director said, if you think he's going to plug and play into this of whatever level of NFL talent you think he's capable of. I think that is sorely underestimating the mental toll this is probably taking on him. He is 0-8 in November the last 2 years. We watched every game that he's played for the last 2 seasons. He's toolsy, but it's never been to the point outside of maybe the game they played against Tech 2 years ago where you felt this is the best dude on the field. I get it. He can run and he's got a good arm, but you watch the tape and there's just some bad things and some strange losses.
Yeah, it's just.
And now the strange losses part to me is the main one
Yeah,
now, knowing what we know. You know, that's the one that speaks the volumes.
Yeah, I mean, all this for what seems to be like an enhanced Jag, but it's Texas Tech, so they have to scratch and claw for every little thing that they can get, even though they've got $1 zillion payroll. It's just sad. But where do we want to really go from here now that we've kind of laid it out? And Peyton, I'll start with you. What's the appropriate way to approach this now? And just to give everybody like, I guess a peek behind the curtain. You're right. Like I got really as emotional as you can get to like listening to something without like, like I was, not necessarily with Callan Cowherd. It kind of just spurned it on because, I was listening to Bomani's podcast and, like a lot of people, I like Bomani Jones because like you said, Peyton, he's very eloquent, very nuanced in how he views things. Even when he is attacking an issue in a way that I disagree with, I'm like, oh, I never thought of it that way. That's interesting. It doesn't necessarily mean I just switch sides to his side of the argument, but it's just, I like listening to people that are smart because I don't know everything. So I think that's important in life. Really what it came down to when I was listening to his show, like I broke his little segment on Sorsby down into like 3 main parts. There's the number one is they're just kids angle. So that's one. Number 2 is, well, having a 0 tolerance policy makes it harder for athletes to seek help if they have a problem, like with gambling or drugs, alcohol, sex addiction, like whatever it might be. If there's like a hard line, you're gone if you do this. I guess it creates an environment where it's easier to continue doing it in the shadows and hiding it as much as you can, I assume. And then number 3 is, well, the NCAA and like all these universities, institutions, well, they all partner with gambling companies, so it's unfair to ban him. Those are the 3 things that I like really wanted to like jump off of, Peyton. But you had mentioned that you kind of, I can't remember how you said it, but you said that you kind of took a little bit of his side when you were listening to it. So I'll just start with you. Like what really jumped out to you when you were listening to it?
Oh no, I said I was able to share some empathy with the argument that both Bomani and Colin were coming from. Colin was coming from the idea of like these other school. Now, Colin obviously is a reactionary person, so his idea is like now he's trying to be the he's trying to react
shock
to
jock.
the reaction. Shock jock it. So he's like, how can Georgia, the morality of Georgia, they have a lot of people who speed. Which is a funny thing, right? Like, because they have a lot of players of speed, they shouldn't be able to take the moral high ground. Like these are 2 separate things on that side of it. They both did talk about the prevalence of every single sports league and their buy-in on allowing gambling to happen, partnering with gambling sites, partnering with prediction sites, while saying all of this is real, right? I think that is. I think once sports teams, conferences, programs, the sports themselves started taking that money, it becomes, in my mind, very difficult for, I don't know. To me, there's hypocrisy there that's kind of hard for me to square. The side of it being like there's this pervasiveness in our society, which now we saw someone in the finals run on during the court because he made a prediction market bet that someone would do it, right? For my understanding. So we do live in a society that's deeply, deeply addicted to gambling. And if you are, please come to our Choctaw Casino and Resorts here in Durant, Oklahoma, or whatever, many other properties as well, and do it safely and responsibly at a place in which can take care of you. But I don't know. I'm having a hard time to I could feel empathy towards the idea of saying like we hitting this with a giant hammer might not be the most appropriate way of doing it unless we can find some other stuff about it, right? I mean, the thing to me that's the difference between some of the other cases like Decker, right? So, and then I'm sidetracking a little bit. Decker was suspended by the NCAA after he was indicted on actual legal charges, right? So that's why that one stood, because he was first arrested and then other things happened. As far as I'm aware, no court in the law, no court, whatever, has no cops, no county, no sheriff, no federal agency have charged Sorsby with anything. At this point in time, it does seem like courts are basically saying the NCAA has, because they're looking at the history of NCAA, has unfairly or inconsistently applied the rules and regulations to its member statuses, member schools, and the players, that none of this can be seen in any way, shape, or form as enforceable at this point in time. And then also them basically telling the NCAA that they cannot use their rule of restitution against Texas Tech, basically just says NCAA can't do anything. To me, that second line is the bigger component to all of this. And I'm just not for sure where we go from here on that side of it. But like I was saying, I can empathize with this idea of saying we have people, we have betting, we have all this stuff that is so pervasive in our society that maybe we should look at it a little stronger, with a more holistic approach to it than just saying boom, betting bad. Because if you're saying boom, betting bad, then why is it that NBA Finals brought to you by DraftKings or whatever, right? I mean, you have to break down all of those other things, in my opinion, as well.
Okay. I mean, that makes a little more sense. Alan, did you want to react to anything? I mean, did you get a chance to listen to Bomani's segment?
Yeah, I did. I mean,
and I'm only saying real quick. I'm only saying like bringing up Bomani because he's the only. I'm sure there are other people that have kind of followed along with his kind of line of thinking, but he's the most famous one that I've heard, and so that's why I'm reacting to. This.
No, and I think that like this is in and of itself, like this is 1,000% a business issue. This isn't moral. This is just strictly about whether or not the powers that be in college sports can guarantee the integrity of their games. Now, why is that important? Now, and I know that seems like self-evident, but I mean, you could always just say, the sports books could just say we can't because we don't feel we don't have assurances about the integrity of these results. We're just not going to take bets on college football or college sports. That's, one way they could do this. But, it also goes to, just the idea that like people want to watch the sports because they feel like there's actual competition going on. People want athletes want to be involved because they feel like there's actual competition going on. If casinos, sportsbooks stop taking bets on games, that wouldn't stop a black market from forming because people love to bet. So again, then we have even less visibility or less ability to kind of monitor, the integrity of these results. The whole thing to me is just like, I don't know. The idea that this is a moral issue or anything like that is just absurd. No, it's about actually being able to play competitive football, to actually stage the games themselves. And yes, I think the schools are going to, clearly are going to benefit from whatever partnerships they have with gambling operators, right? And it would be a bad thing in that regard if gambling operators stop taking bets on college football. But it really goes, even beyond that, when you consider the possibility of a black market forming. The whole thing,
Yeah.
I don't know what we're really talking about here. Like, it just seems absurd to me.
It is pretty absurd. It's a good word to use. Matt, is there anything else you wanted to react to before I got on a diatribe?
I didn't get a chance to listen to either Bomani or Colin Cowherd. I think I did see one clip of Cowherd basically bringing up the Georgia players and stuff like that. Like, you can't be on your moral high ground if like this stuff's going on, which, I mean, I don't know. It's still
Apples
wrong for those. Yeah, I was about to say it just doesn't feel like the same thing at all.
Not even
like
close.
those,
What are we
those
talking
kids,
about?
If you're trying to break it down as like, oh, these kids are just being kids and being dumb, that's good. One is like them being dumb, putting people at risk, which is not good either. Like putting people's lives at risk, that's not great. The other one is like literally the integrity of the entire sport. So I mean, both of them very bad, but one of them can have major implications on not just like a few lives in like a car crash or something like that, but like literally, I don't know, thousands of athletes in college football. Like I don't know, man. I get like having, and again, I said this earlier, like I have empathy for Brendan Sorsby, excuse me, and like, I mean, just the addiction and everything like that. I mean, addiction runs in my family, not gambling, but different forms of addiction, and like I have empathy for that. I really do. I don't like that this is kind of being turned, or like some of the phrasing feels like it's being turned to like, okay, this kid can't get better unless he's playing college football for Texas Tech this fall. Like that to me is what it's kind of boiling down to. I'm like, really? Like that feels kind of gross and disgusting, and almost like you're trying to throw it back on somebody else or throwing it back on the fans of college football because you really want this guy to play for your team. And it's like, I don't know. It feels kind of gross that that's kind of the messaging I'm getting. Yeah.
No, I get you. I need to know this real quick. Is there a rehab for being addicted to the game, Matt, like you are?
I'm addicted to the game. That's for sure, dude. I'll tell you that much right now. I'm addicted to it, married to it, all of it.
Okay. Well, I want you guys to, because I took notes. I want you guys to, if you 1,000% disagree or you want to add something, just please stop me and like cut in. Please do so. Giving you all full attention or full permission to cut me off. Let me lay out some like bullet points first. If this gets shared around with, Tech fans, and you want to say, oh, didn't OU get a local judge to favorably rule in the case of Owen Heineke's eligibility? Owen Heineke got his year of eligibility given back to him. Yes, or given to him, depending on your understanding of what was going on. Yes, that did happen. Owen Heineke getting his eligibility back does not doom the foundation of the sport or destroy its soul, like allowing a player who's been caught gambling to continue playing. So, sorry, we're just going to have to disagree there. The same thing with Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss. It's one of those things where I think we all understood like he's going to be eligible, and it's like, it's silly, but hey, you know what? It's just them's the breaks. This is a little window in time where these schools can find local judges to rule in their favor in these cases because the guardrails have not been set up yet. I assume at some point in the next 5 to 10 years, they will be. And so now is the time for Texas Tech to, and schools like Tech, to take advantage of this little legal loophole they find themselves in. Okay. So the 3 little points that from Bomani's like 25-minute, go follow Bomani Jones, go listen to his show. It's great. Talks about all sports, but he also really does talk about a lot of college football. And he is a former Texas fan. I kind of think that he still is. And by proxy, he is also very knowledgeable about OU football. So OU fans can really enjoy it as well. So yeah, the three things that I really took from that whole segment on Sorsby from his episode, latest one, I'll start with one, the NCAA benefits from gambling, so it's unfair to ban them. I can see that. And Peyton had mentioned that he could empathize with the hypocrisy that it does seem a little unfair that the NCAA and universities can partner with DraftKings, but then like punish their players if they gamble. Okay. So the NCAA partnering with gambling companies, it doesn't necessarily mean that players can bet on games. One general thing college is supposed to teach you as a young adult is how the world is, like how the world is run, how to conduct yourself as an adult. And one of the realities that you come to find out is that the world isn't fair. And not every time is like an instance of unfairness, not necessarily a bad thing. So we all agree that like children can't vote until they're 18 because they're children. But a child can just sit there and say, it's not fair. I'm 16 and I'm politically active and I read up on stuff because I'm a dork and I want to vote. It's not fair. It is. Yeah. If you just think about it from that perspective, that is not fair. It's not a moral wrong though. So just because OU partners with a gambling entity does not necessarily mean that it's therefore unfair to hold players accountable. So I don't fall under the, I see an instance of hypocrisy, therefore everything goes out the window. I think that that's a pie in the sky. We all like communist utopia mentality. Like, come on now. There's a difference between sponsoring ads and allowing players to have inside influence or self-interest in outcomes. I think that that's pretty clear. Yeah, like life just isn't fair. It isn't. And consequences have to be dealt if you make a mistake. That's a part of growing up. That's a part of what college is supposed to teach you. Not to get too far in the weeds, but what do a lot of young college kids do? The first time they're living on their own, they're out with a bunch of their friends, like they drink. Sometimes they drink before they're 21. Sometimes, and a lot of times they drink after they're 21. And what you're supposed to do when you start your relationship with drinking is understanding that you need to find your stopping point and have a good relationship with that stopping point. That's a part of maturing and growing up. If you go past that stopping point and make mistakes, you have to learn from those mistakes. You have to take on the consequences and not run from them. Otherwise, you could become an alcoholic. You could damage yourself. You could damage the lives of those around you. Pretty clear. So there's that. The zero tolerance makes it harder for athletes to seek help. It was another point that he had. Zero tolerance is not about punishing the addiction. It's about protecting the game from essentially insider trading. The betting the under on points at halftime, betting the under on your quarterbacks, yardage total. Not like, oh, you didn't bet against Indiana. It's like, again, this is beyond stupid that this has to be argued, but apparently it does. Athletes are fully able to get help off the field. They are more capable of getting help from resources open to them than most normal people, because they literally have their hands held in almost every single way possible. If you're talking about big time D1 athletes playing big time D1 sports, they've got tutors, they've got advisors, they've got financial advisors now, they've got all these people. And you're sitting here trying to tell me that, oh, if we give him a consequence, it's going to keep future players with problems similar to this. It's going to keep them from wanting to seek help that doesn't exist. It does exist. Please stop with this. And, the solution isn't to weaken the rule. It's to make supports. It's to help make support systems better out of competition eligibility. Also, there's this idea that I really have a problem with. And it's this idea that if we allow somebody who's been caught gambling to play the sport, it immediately puts into question like results and outcomes. And Peyton, you and I talked back and forth a bunch after the Alabama game last year in the regular season, where it wasn't just because it was OU. It was because I don't like when the outcomes of games or of a series is tarnished because people question it. I have no problem with like being upset that your team lost and making excuses for it, because that's what fans do. But to sit there and say it's rigged, or the officials like wanted Shea Gilgeous-Alexander from Oklahoma City to win a title in the NBA, like because it was some grand conspiracy, that has no place. Like you're a crazy person, go away. You're tarnishing something. Saying like, oh, OU only won because they got super lucky against Alabama. Like that's tarnishing what OU forced, them by forcing the issue of creating those turnovers. It tarnishes it. And that's like, I have a problem with that. So allowing someone to gamble, get away with it, not give them a consequence, not punish them, allow them to play, it immediately is going to start, like Matt said, it's the second he throws a pick, everyone's going to be like, what was the under? What was the over? Oh, it's like they're playing East Popcorn State. He's 4.5 touchdowns, 1.5 interceptions. He's going to bet the over, and he's going to throw a meaningless pick, and everyone's going to be like, oh, see, he's still got a problem. This is all going to lead to more discourse that I do not like. Meaningless, stupid, just no place in reality, bullshit discourse. Okay, and then the final part, they're just kids. Okay, I've talked about this before on the Keyhole. It always interests me when we have to treat them as young men, because that's what they are. They're young men. They're young adults. We treat them as young men when things are going great. That's a young man. He's not a kid. He's not a young boy. He's a young man when things are going great. The second they make a mistake, oh, they're kids again. And Bomani made this point of gambling is so integrated now into our sports lives, and it is, that it's now unfair to punish a kid so severely for doing something that is thrown at them every day on their phone, on TV, on radio, podcasts, you name it. You can't escape sports betting if you're into sports. I don't like sports betting. I'm not interested in it, but I know it exists. Okay. Playing sports is a privilege. It's not a right. If there's nothing wrong with institutions having rules, line in the sand rules. If you break those, if you get caught breaking those rules, there's nothing wrong with that institution or school or entity from barring you from playing it anymore, because it's a privilege. It's not a right. That does not mean Sorsby's going to go to prison or be a bum for the rest of his life. It just means he lost the privilege to play the sport that he broke the rules gambling towards. It's silly to me. Like, addiction is real, but forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean erasing consequences in the context that you chose to play. Again, it's interesting to me that it's okay to, like, they are young adults. Their brains are not fully matured yet. We all remember what we were like when we were in our early 20s. We were all stupid. Maybe not Alan, but we were all stupid. And we were not as smart as we were when we hit 25 and then 30 and then 35 and so on and so forth. We could all recognize that. But we're okay with paying them tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. We're okay with doing that because they run fast or they jump high or they were born to be 6'5". Here's all this money. But the second they truly screw up, and like gambling, or I don't even want to mention the things, but even worse things than that, like moral wrongs. If they do something like that, oh, no. Remember, they're just kids. Like, get out of here with that. That does not make sense to me. It's okay to give them money and treat them like grown-ass men, but they shouldn't be held accountable for their mistakes. That to me, like, I have a problem with that. And I guess, like, overall, And I'm sorry, because I know like people listen to sports podcasts because they want to listen to sports and escape from the world. I do the same thing. But again, it might seem trivial, but to me, it's like I view sports in the same way that everyone does. It's like a way for me to like forget that real world problems exist. And we already live in a country where half the people walking around think an election was stolen for reasons that they believe to be true. Okay, it's your right to believe that. I don't want sports to be that same realm where everything is questioned because it didn't go your way. I mean, we had fucking hundreds of Auburn fans in our mentions last year because they thought the game was stolen from them because of a play that occurred with 4 minutes to go in the second fucking quarter. Like, I'm sorry, like I call me emotional. Go ahead. Like, I don't like this whatsoever, guys. I don't like it whatsoever. And I guess is another final, like, let me lay out all my biases, I guess. Hey, I didn't like Joe Mixon playing at OU either, because it's kind of a similar, I want OU to win. I want OU to cheat to win, like within like systematic like norms, paying players under the table back in the day when it was quote unquote against the rules. You're doing yourself a disservice at that point if you're trying to compete at the highest level of not paying the best talent to come play for you, because everybody does it. But, you know, don't get caught. If you get caught, there are punishments. And OU has been punished before. And I'm all for it if they're stupid enough to get caught. But I don't want them to cheat at the expense of their soul. And I kind of viewed the Joe Mixon thing as like, man, this is the first time that in my lifetime that I feel like OU is doing something at the expense of their soul. And fortunately, Joe Mixon has truly learned from it. Has he been in trouble or sniffed trouble ever since? So I guess he has.
I thought so. Maybe not. I don't want to search real fast. Sorry.
If so, I can't remember. So I guess from the standpoint of we stood by somebody, a young man who made a mistake early in his life, and we didn't want to like doom him for the rest of his life, like that whole mindset. In this instance, I guess it did work out favorably for Joe Mixon in terms of him being not a degenerate for the rest of his life or doing it again, punching a woman. So it's one of those instances where it did work out, but at the same time, I didn't like it. And if OU, you know, if John Mateer gets alleged to doing something abhorrently terrible before a big game, innocent until proven guilty, that's for the courts, that's for society, that's for the community. But for OU, if you're going to stand by somebody because you just want to win a football game when they've been alleged to do something like terrible, that's where I might check out. It's like, I can't stand by that, if that makes sense. So again, it was a long spiel. I'm sorry, guys. But if there's anything you wanted to jump in on, I mean, I just wanted to lay out my thoughts and get them out there.
I mean, like, I don't think that, yeah. I mean, I guess for starters, I think that Bomani's take on this is actually like in the minority, if that makes sense. Like, most of what I've seen, people are like, this is not something that Texas Tech should be allowed to do, or that, this is just a case of Sorsby, whatever. I think that I think that one thing that Bomani pointed out that is actually, I think there's a fecklessness, right, to the NCAA and all this, in the sense that, like, the NCAA tries to make itself out to be something that it's clearly not. In this case, there's a lot of language in the NCAA's mission statements and what have you about helping athletes and, doing what's in their best interests and whatnot. And so, in that regard, we do have to think about what these programs owe the players, if they owe them anything, right? And what the NCAA's role is in that. That being said, to me, this is too fundamental of an issue here. I mean, again, I guess if you wanted to, if you think it would be helped by, sports books, if you think it'd be better for the sport if sports books were stopped taking bets on college football games, I mean, I guess that's one potential outcome here. But I'm not sure that that's a better situation. Just all in all, though, I mean, it just, to me, again, I've said it a few times, but it's just so fundamental to what the whole enterprise is about that, like, I just can't envision why anybody involved in college sports would want this kind of thing to stand.
Yeah, the idea of shame is the one reason why I think why is Texas Tech doing this? How is this helpful? Cody Campbell did release an op-ed within the last 24 hours about how we have to get these bills passed to save the sport while he is actively bankrolling the one team who's currently
trying to destroy it.
The integrity of the sport. So from Alan and Brady, what you guys, maybe this part would be somewhat controversial. I agree with you guys. The soul of the sport, this is a crime against the soul of the sport, right? I do think, and Brady, you're saying like, well, hey, everyone is using steroids, so why aren't we using steroids? I think it's, hey, if it's a rule, it's a rule. You need to follow it. And I understand that there's like gamesmanship and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, did I just watch Wimby try to murder Brunson? Yeah, 100%. Hope he does it tomorrow night too, because the NBA is not going to call shit on him. Have you seen the TV ratings? So no, you lean into it. You use is it unfair? Sure, it's unfair, right? It's unfair that he was born 7'5" or whatever. Well, not born 7'5", became a 7'5" Titan. Whatever. The other part of it that I think of is just that the NCAA is not a functioning or have the ability in any way, shape, or form to police the member institutions or police the players in which comprise the teams that make up those member institutions, right? The students themselves, the players themselves have no voice in the rules. They have no voice in the creation of these bylines. They have no voice in the creation of these guidelines. All they do is sign an NIL agreement now at this point in time, I believe, or a letter of intent, which, obviously the onus is flipped from the player to the school. And the courts are basically saying, yeah, you have no real legal authority over these players in any way, shape, or form. From that perspective, I am kind of like, I don't know if you can hear Arlo in the background screaming. I don't know if I have any empathy towards the NCAA or towards these other schools or towards the Big 12 or toward the SEC and the Big 10 when they're saying like, well, we shouldn't play Texas Tech, or we're reevaluating that we'll only play conference teams maybe, or something like that. To me, that's a totally just get over yourselves at that point in time. They've basically created a shell game that has finally marched to its grave, and it's over with now at this point in time. In my mind, maybe this is the death knell that kind of creates all this stuff, or creates a new form of college football. But you can't just live on the idea. I mean, look at modern day society, what's happening right now in the highest branches of our government. You can't go by norms. You can't go by who has shame or who doesn't have shame. You can't go by those things, because that's just person to person. And we're seeing that right now in Texas Tech. I guess that's my one point. Yeah, if I were the coach, I would say you're out of here.
Peyton, how many other sports leagues allow their players to gamble on their sports?
Okay, real quick.
They do not. But they also have a collective bargaining agreement, right?
I just texted Matt.
Down.
I just texted Matt to ask him that very question, because
none. You can't do it. You can't do. You cannot have like any form of competition in which a player could, in theory, affect the outcome. To adversely. You know what I mean, in terms of for their own benefit. This is not about the NCAA trying to take money out of players' pockets, or it's not about coaches trying to control where players go. It's about like actually just having a game. The NCAA, I mean, if the courts want to tell this is different than taking the NCAA to court over whether or not a player is eligible or they're enforcing their rules fairly or consistently. And this is just about whether or not you can actually even have the enterprise of college sports. So, like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else can be done. I mean, I don't know how this could be tolerated. And like, I mean, it's clear that in my mind, I think that Cody Campbell is using this as an opportunity to further disrupt the kind of homeostasis of college sports right now, which is already way out of whack, but to, I think influence the situation to get a better outcome in the long run for Texas Tech in terms of its place in the college football pecking order. To me, that it just seems obvious at this point.
Yeah, and I guess I was talking from a much, much broader thing on that side of it. Those sports do have antitrust agreements and all that kind of stuff that's set up with Congress, and my assumption is there is some guidelines around some of that stuff that the NCAA in the sport of college football or any sport in college does not have those same parameters written in a stone that could withstand the legal scrutiny at this point in time. But yes, from the spirit, the letter, and all that kind of stuff, I agree with you. I think those are different cases due to collective bargaining and employment and all that sort of stuff. But I think you could, yeah. I don't know.
I mean,
there's two ways of
they're collectively bargained, yeah, absolutely. But the players will agree to that because they also know, like, we don't have a sport to play without it, and so like other college athletes don't have the opportunity to play their sport if players are allowed to gamble. I mean, it's just it is just so fundamentally ingrained in what sports are that, like, we're not. I don't know. This would be like saying, I mean, I'm allowed to. I can't even begin to think of what I could do. Like, this is like saying I'm allowed to. A football player. I'm a linebacker. I'm allowed to go around shooting people during the game. I mean, like, it's not. We're not even talking about actually playing. I mean, being able to hold the sport. It just. It's fundamental.
And this is the same NCAA that passed a rule to allow college athletes to bet on sports, pro sports, before it had to be vetoed, right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, the NCAA doesn't do this right. They have allowed the door to be open for this.
I feel like, the professional leagues, like, they allow betting on other professional sports, but every single one, obviously, you cannot bet on your own sport. That's obvious.
Which is why I think, from a general standpoint, people aren't, if they're upset about this, they're not siding with the NCAA. They're siding with just the general understanding we all have as sports people, as sports fans, that gambling is a no-no. If you get caught, you're done. Like, this isn't like, no one's getting in the weeds of like, what's the NCAA parameters and bylaws say about this? Like, no one gives a fuck about the NCAA. They're a joke anyway. Everyone knows that. This is just, again, about the soul of the sport that people are jumping on against. Like, Bomani did also have like a minor point about how he didn't really like as he termed it, the over emotional reaction by his colleagues, like those in the media. I don't agree with them being emotional, because I guess color me emotional. I'm right there with them. I will say, though, there are a lot of media members that have had big platforms for a very long time that had a hand in the blame of why we are in this landscape that we find ourselves in right now. Because you'd have people say, they need to be paid. They need to be paid. The college players need to be paid. It's unfair that the sport makes zillions of dollars and they make nothing. That all sounds great. Well, guess what? You got it. No guardrails, though. And those people, like those media folks that were screaming for player empowerment, are now upset that a player is exercising some empowerment by becoming eligible after he got caught gambling. So that's the only irony that I recognize is, no, y'all wanted this. Y'all wanted player empowerment, but now you don't want it. And I'm glad you brought up the steroid thing, Peyton, because that's actually a very good example of how I view cheating. I don't intricately know the whole Lance Armstrong story, but my general understanding of it is he was right. Like, everybody juices like in bicycling, and that's in competitive bike racing, whatever it's called. Everyone juices. So if I don't juice, I'm putting myself at a competitive disadvantage. That's true. So do it. And he did. But then he got caught, and then he lied about it, and he lied about it, and he lied about it, and lied about it. If you're going to do it when it's against the rules, but the reality is if you don't do it, then you're not going to be able to compete with your peers, then do it. But, there are consequences for your actions if you get caught, and there's no one to save you at that point because you broke the rules. But there are rules. It's just like jaywalking. Jaywalking is against the law. How many of us have jaywalked today? Turn yourself in if you have, because it's against the rules. There are things that are enforced. There are things that are not enforced. But again, even the things that aren't enforced, if a cop pulls me over for jaywalking, it's not like I can argue against it. Like, I broke the law. It's just, are you a weirdo enforcing jaywalking? Okay. So I don't know, guys. Like, I said everything I wanted to say. It
just seems so weird because, like, last year, like the Iowa State stuff, slam dunk. Last year, NCAA suspends 6 basketball players, slam dunk. Nobody says anything. Just correct, just over. This, like you said, this was like the one unwritten rule. I guess it was written, but and now all of a sudden it is basically turned on its ear, saying, "Well, actually, it's not all that bad."
Well, like,
out of the blue.
But let's also, like, one thing about this, as it currently stands, is this is more like now saying, like, okay, you're gonna get you've got a lottery ticket, right? This isn't necessarily like, oh, every court, every judge would let this stand. It's like it opens up the door that some judge might rule one way, some judge might rule another. It might depend on the venue. It might depend, like, it's not exactly like, oh, this is legal now. But like, even just the idea that a court might not side with the NCAA and the schools on this issue is enough to be pretty destabilizing, I think.
I mean, do we think Texas Tech and what the judge ruled as qualifications for his reinstatement have any merit whatsoever? I think it's like monthly check-ins, having to go to the classes, having to have a mentor,
he had that opportunity before.
Guidelines.
He had that opportunity before, and he clearly ignored them. So what onus do we have now that he's going to, or what belief do we have now that he's going to suddenly, like, oh, now I'm going to take my rehab seriously?
It's not like he didn't know. How many symposiums did he go through that said, hey, don't do this shit? Him and his teammates have to sit through.
I want to make something clear as well. We are talking, like, this podcast is about college football for the most part. It's OU football, college football. We don't know any of these people that we talk about. Like, my job, Sooners on SI, when I put my journalist hat on, like, I ask them questions about their football prowess. I don't ask them personal questions because it's not my job to know who they are personally. If I ever get to write a human interest story, I'll cross that bridge when I get there if I'm ever able to. But until that time, like, we are just talking about their footballness. I recognize that they are human beings with lives and thoughts and prayers and depth, nuance, hypocrisy, just like all of us. They are allowed to be wrong. They are allowed to be right. They are allowed to grow and fail and succeed, just like all of us. But what he does in the event of, like, afterwards, in the scenario where he is banned from playing college football again, because he should be, that is up to him. I would hope that he becomes a good functioning person in society, but it's not our responsibility to give a shit about that also. Like, it's not. I would never have known Brendan Sorsby's name or who he was unless he played football. And he's playing football in this reality that I live in, so I know who he is. That might seem a little rude, but there's 8 billion people on earth. You're not going to know everyone's story. You don't have time. It's not realistic. Again, like I think like trying to bring it back to like OU football discourse of like, rival schools and blah, blah, blah. They suck. We suck. Who cares? It's just so funny that it is Texas Tech because it's very clear. Like Texas Tech has been the loudest school since OU and Texas announced they were leaving the Big 12. They have been the loudest school of like, no, because again, just like I said at the beginning, I get why they're doing this. It is in their best interest to do so. And I understand, like Peyton, you described it correctly. Cody Campbell's trying to like, just essentially create chaos.
Yeah, he's trying to bend the wheel of college sports to how he sees it fit. And I was kind of like shoo-shooing or whatever the idea of like, what's he have to pay in this? But I'm not going to try to, if I want to put the tinfoil hat on, it's like they knew about it. And he was like, this is my way of breaking college football. I mean, that's if I'm doing like full tinfoil hat on that side.
I did want to make a point too. Sorry, Brady, because I've seen a lot of like this was before, I'm sure, and this is bold of me to assume that everyone reads articles. But the article of Pete Thamel put out, which in that article he did say that Brennan Sorsby bet twice for negative impacts on his team, for like negative results for the team that he was on. But I saw a lot of Tech people just being like, so what? He bet on his team to win, right? That's what Pete Rose did, right? Pete Rose bet on his team to win. I have no issues with that. And the one twist that I have on that, the other like counterpoint I have on that is, okay, well, did he bet on them to win every game? Or what happened to those games where he didn't bet on them to win? Or he just didn't bet at all. Like, did he know not to because something was wrong? Like, I don't know. So that's why, like, again, and the Pete Rose thing is a whole like different can of worms. Like everyone is like, well, he bet on his team to win. I see no issues with that. But like, I mean, the literal first thing that they tell you when you're drafted to the MLB and show up to the minors is don't bet on baseball. That is the literal first thing that they tell you. So,
yeah.
I don't have any like empathy for that.
It's too slippery of a slope to just have the idea of, well, he bet for his team. It's like, what's going to stop them from betting against their team? What and how are we ever going to know if we know that they're actively betting in the game that they are playing in? Like it's too slippery a slope. It's okay to have line in the sand like rules. Like, and I'm not naive.
I'm not naive to think that he's the only person that's doing this. I'm not naive to think that he's the only one to do this.
Or you can collude with a player on the other team,
right?
And he says we're going to lose. Bet on us,
right?
And you split the money. I mean, like
now, based on every ruling I've seen and stuff I've been reading about, if they find evidence of that, yeah, he's just done. Like they are putting they're threading that judge is trying to thread a very, very small needle hole.
Well, I mean, my thing is
now you have a whole
negative
other enforcement problem.
The two negative results that he bet on, like I know he's not actively out there in those games. That's when he was in Indiana, so he's like redshirting or whatever. But I'm sorry, man, that's just grounds enough to be done because you're in the team room, like you know the game plan.
It's insider trading.
Exactly. We don't want
our senators to do this.
Right. You know, your offensive coordinator, you know, the quarterback. Hey, who's to say that he didn't make the bet for him and the quarterback both? Like to be like the starting quarterback being like, hey, I'll throw some money down. You throw some money down too. You just have less than 50 yards in this quarter and we'll be good to go. We'll make a bunch of money. Like, I don't know. I have a hard time like finding any leeway here. I think this should be an open and shut. And truthfully, I mean, it feels like a lot of people are on the same page here with this, except for, the courts in Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah. again, like there's nothing wrong with having rules. If you get banned from a social media platform because you said a bunch of stuff that broke the rules of said social media platform and you get banned from it, you've not been like your First Amendment right to free speech has not been taken from you. You just can't go back to Facebook or whatever you got kicked off from anymore. If you go to someone's house and they ask you like, hey, can you take your shoes off before you come in, and you trounce around like Rick James and getting muddy boots all over Eddie Murphy's couch, and you get asked to leave, you're not having your rights infringed upon. You broke the house rules. Get the F out of here. Like it's, you can drink, you can smoke if you're over 18 or 21 in America, but there's nothing wrong with companies saying you can't do it on the job. You can't be drunk or high on the job. It doesn't mean that you can't do it, in your free time responsibly. I have to say that, I think. But one more time with Texas Tech, though, like they are just desperately wanting to be seen. Like they just want to be seen, because when the Super League gets formed and the OUs don't have to subsidize the Oklahoma States of the world anymore, Texas Tech wants to be in that wheelhouse of, can we get in the Super League club, please? That's what they're wanting to do. And I've said this on Keyhole a few times. The time to cheat your way to the top was basically like the 1930s to the 1960s. And that time has passed. OU did it when they needed to. And if you find yourself in the modern day going like, we want to be Texas, we want to be Oklahoma or Alabama, and you didn't take the opportunity back in the day, I was like, sorry. You had your chance like everyone else did, and you didn't do it. So go make money somewhere else. Texas Tech used to have a really good baseball program, but they're like, nope, we don't care about that anymore. We want to be blown out in a playoff game. Okay, whatever. Oh, well, I think we've, unless Matt or Peyton, unless you guys had something else to add, we can.
Good. But also DraftKings, FanDuel, if you guys want to sponsor us.
Yeah. That's always been like a fear of mine, because I don't know. I know what over under means. I know what point spreads are. I don't know anything else. Like I know a parlay is like a collection of random things that you're betting for or against to all occur at the same time, or in the same game, or the same day, or whatever. Like money line, I don't know what any of that stuff means. I'm a complete another idiot when it comes to sports betting.
Money line's just who wins the game.
It's John Mateer.
Yeah, right. It's money line Mateer.
You remember when he was cool? That John Mateer.
Remember his gambling thing?
Did John go to rehab? Oh, we shouldn't poke fun at those trying to seek help. It's okay if you need help. Things exist. Let's get over to OU as much as we can. The top newcomers, according to ESPN, and I assume based on the names that I see on this list that you wrote, Peyton, this is newcomers, i.e. transfer portal players or incoming true freshmen. Because OU's got 3 of them. Number 34 is one Parker Livingston, receiver transferred from Texas. Everyone's excited about. Number 42, Trell Harris, the other transfer receiver from Virginia, which is interesting to me because Trell Harris, much more production than Parker Livingston, yet Parker Livingston is ranked higher. And then number 66, true freshman edge rusher Jake Krell from IMG. I think I wrote on Spinners on SI a few weeks ago. I think I've penciled him in as not the 4th or the 5th guy on the edge. So I'm kind of expecting him to be a rotational player. Maybe it's just kind of like for the first few games of the season and he hits a freshman wall, or maybe he's really good and he continues to be a consistent player within the rotation, but I'm expecting him to at least play a handful of snaps at the very least as a true freshman. But other than Trell being ranked below Parker Livingston in this list, Peyton, I'll start with you. What does that say to you? Like as an OU fan, when you see only 3 players and the 3 players that are actually listed, what does that say to you?
Yeah, for sure. No, the thing that really stood out to me more than anything was who made this list. And I'm the one who put the show notes together. But because, yeah, sure, having 2 wide receivers, yeah, that's great. But if we're talking about actual impactful players, players that will help the team, I would probably put all 3 tight ends on that list before any one of those wide receivers. You know what I mean? So to me, that was the bigger deal. I think Joe Harris fits in very easily into the current roster of a deep threat guy, big body guy, I believe ish. Fits in that slot receiver area. I apologize. Much easier than Parker probably does at this point in time with some of the players that we have available. But yeah, I'm looking at the tight end saying like, yeah, let's put 1 or 2 of those guys on the list because they're going to have much, much more impact on OU's ability to win football games next year. Way, way, way more than OU's 3rd wide receiver. I mean, you know what I mean on that side. So some of that stuff, I'm not even sure what put it on it. I think that's something I put on there. Did ESPN get it right? Did they get it wrong? I think they got it wrong on all 3. Sure, Jake can be a rotational guy, but I think OU's got 2 top line guys and probably some depth behind them that will be on the edge in Wine and Okoye, who should be your main guys on the edge, and then you've got some institutional depth there. I just don't see how these guys make a big enough of an impact that would beat other players who have been added to this team and would be considered on this list, I guess, at this point in time.
Yeah, I kind of had some of the same thoughts as well. I guess you're right. Like the tight ends are going to be like super influential to OU success or lack thereof this year. But at the same time, like I kind of understand from the standpoint of Hayden Hanson's a blocker. That's what he's been his whole career. Rocky Beers is coming from Colorado State. So there's like a big question of whether he can do it at a high level in a tougher conference. And then Van Dorsler played a lot as a true freshman at Tennessee, but also didn't really do that much. So it's a bunch of, like we've talked about it before, like at least my opinion is just a lot of unknowns, a lot of unknown knowns, if that's actually a thing for these tight ends. Alan, kind of like Peyton, did you kind of think that maybe some other OU player or position group should have been recognized on this list, or is this kind of where OU belongs?
Yeah, I mean, the thing I think that stands out to me is there's only 1 freshman on here, right? And I say that because OU's, it wasn't much of a secret. OU's last recruiting class didn't have a whole lot of flair to it. So, that's one part that stands out. But yeah, I think that in terms of OU's success, what I do think the tight ends, I don't know if I'd say that they are going to be more consequential than a guy like Livingston or Trell Harris, but I feel like just having someone in that spot is going to be a bigger deal for this OU team than what they can get out of these 2 new receivers, if that makes sense, based on what they already had on the roster. But only having 3 players total on this list, I mean, it speaks pretty well of I think what OU's done. In terms of building the roster up to that point, right? Because you don't have to bring in a whole lot of new guys to contribute.
Matt, I want you to answer Sooner Cowboys' question. I just flashed up on the screen. I want you to give the official Keyhole prediction.
Do we think if he makes the college football playoff again this season? Yeah, I would lean no.
Oh, really? You don't think so?
No, I don't.
Are you preparing yourself?
No, I don't think it's another 6-7 season. I feel like Sooner Cowboys is constantly talking about a 6-7 season every time he's in here. So Hey man, I know. Hey, the 6 and 7 seasons hurt. They did. I get it. I get it, man. That doesn't mean every single season's going to be that though.
We held the line, but yeah, I mean, lives were lost, unfortunately, when you go 6 and 7. Only one true freshman. Is anybody? Maybe Jashir Rogers, but that's based solely on the spring game. And I'm going to assume that whoever wrote this list is not intimately familiar with Oklahoma's spring game. Rogers looked like a dude who belonged. The only problem he's going to have is Emmett Jones and Ben Arbuckle have not shown an ability or a desire to put young players onto the field at wide receiver, and with Emmett Jones, develop them. So who knows?
Yeah, I guess you could say Hatton at running back, right? I mean,
Hatton, Zeppin Walker.
Yeah, one of those guys. By the end of the year, one of them could end up being, I think, the OU's featured back.
And that would be kind of a fair assessment to make if you just had some familiarity with OU spring game performances, because I think I don't say this to predict it or to hope that it happens. I don't want it to happen, but Xavier Robinson and Torrey Blaylock, since they've been in Norman, have just been they've had injury issues. And because of that, you can't really assume that they're going to be healthy all year. And if you can't assume that they're going to be healthy all year, then what about what else do they have behind? Oh, they've got two pretty talented freshmen that impressed a lot during spring. Okay. Put one of them on there, put the Hatton kid out there because he was the higher rated running back recruit. And I'm not going to do as much homework because I would do the same thing, but it is what it is. Peyton, I'm gonna let this be up to you. You had one more topic. Do we want to save this for next week? Because again, we went long on the Sorsby thing, and I kind of wanted to. There's only so much OU news that we could pounce on, so I think we should probably leave this one for next week
for sure.
But if you want to,
sure.
we
I
can.
think that'd be a good one. Yeah, okay. Let's do it.
Any reason to worry about wide receiver recruiting? Because we don't really deal with recruiting that much, but we tend to talk about like the bigger general topics as they kind of come and go. OU having two receivers decommit, one that was fairly highly rated. Matt, do you know how to pronounce his name? Is it Damare Dezern?
I think that's right. It's either Damare or Damari.
Okay.
I think I've heard Damare.
4-star from he's not at Palisades anymore because every big time high school football player, they just bounce from school to school now, just like they will in college. But he's from California, 4-star recruit. He decommitted, and it's one side of the reporting says OU cut ties with him because he wanted to go take another visit to Cal, who is starting to spend a lot of money on the recruiting trail as of late. And OU said, go ahead, we're just going to recruit over you now. Or it was, favorable towards the player. Because I saw someone claiming to be his agent say no, that's not what happened at all, because that's what agents are supposed to do. They're supposed to represent and, have the back of their clients. So who knows why, but OU loses a receiver commit nonetheless. And then Trayvon Hall, the 3-star recruit from Tuscaloosa, bummer, I guess. But again, someone can jump on this because I kind of just mentioned it with Emmett Jones. If OU's going to lose players in their recruiting classes, I mean, I understand wide receiver. I don't want to see OU lose commits that are highly thought of, but I understand when it comes to a receiver. I mean, right? Because what has Emmett Jones done? He's been he's not been successful. Isaiah Satania has been his best receiver. I mean, he inherited Nick Anderson, Drake Stoops, Jaleel Farouk in 2023. They were already established. I mean, not necessarily Nick Anderson, but he was still a redshirt sophomore. So he'd been in the program for a few years. And Emmett Jones would have only had a spring and a summer with him and a fall camp with him to quote unquote develop him. But after that, it's just been Deion Burks was a complete bust considering the hype that he brought with him. Isaiah Satania has been great. but that's it. He's not developed anybody. Like, young players have not seen the field. His real chance to show his coaching prowess was 2024, and all those dudes are gone. And frankly, like, OU didn't really miss out on them because he apparently doesn't have that much eye for talent in the recruiting sense, because Zion Reagan, Zion Kearney, like, none of those guys were good. So at least they weren't good at OU. And Emmett Jones didn't do much to help their cause, apparently. So, I mean, Alan,
what if this is a function, though, of the recruiting budget? What if OU just has decided they're not spending money on receivers?
Well, that's interesting. You guys might have a better eye for that in terms of, is that wise to do? Because I guess I'm still a little bit more old school oriented. I want OU to run the football. It's not like, the football hat says run the damn ball. It's not that. I just want OU to be able to dictate how games are played. And we have seen quarterbacks and offenses throw for 1 billion yards, being OU fans in our time. And whenever those teams have played equally talented teams, I feel like OU rarely, if ever, dictates the game. It's the one that can physically punch them on defense or physically move guys on the offensive line in the run game. So ideally, I want OU to just be like a running offense that doesn't ask its quarterback to save them every time, because that has a ceiling and we've seen it. So is that wise, Alan?
I don't know. I mean, like, I guess I just really asked the question because it's more like there was one way of talking about like what was going on with recruiting, 5 to 10 years ago. And it feels like now we have to consider like a completely different variable here. I mean, because if someone offers more money versus, the opportunity, I mean, what does NFL development buy you now? What does, versus, the immediate cash on hand? If, Cal's going to offer you an extra 50 grand or extra $100,000 to go there instead of OU, is it worth it? I like, to me, it's just on the part of the player. To me, I just, if it's a calculation that OU's making that they're not getting enough of a return on receivers to, warrant spending a lot of money, then I guess I couldn't argue with it. I don't really, because I don't really know what numbers they're working off of, but I don't know. It's just something to think about. Like, I look at it more in the context of what's going on with Emmett Jones. That's kind of how we're our hook into it. And so then it's like, well, is he not getting what is OU not going to invest in, making in giving him good raw materials to work with? And I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know, but I mean, I think it's a good question to ask. It does kind of open up, I guess, any of us to ask even further questions, kind of like towards Emmett Jones, like you were alluding to, Alan. But I mean, Peyton, you're much more analytics driven than I am when it comes to football. I mean, is just kind of like, I'm just gonna casually say this, like, don't think too much into this, but is moneyballing wide receiver recruiting, like, is that a way that you can be successful? If, like, the implication being you get the big fish at the other positions, like, because I mean, in modern college football, in modern football, it's like quarterback driven. And so you need to have really good receivers to make your offense explosive. So I guess if you moneyball receivers, you're not going to have as explosive an offense as you might have. So is it actually a wise thing to do? But I mean, for all I know, maybe it's fine to do so.
Yeah, I think if you're going to, from Alan's perspective, if you're looking at this from a salary cap, idea, and you're saying, here's how much money we're going to allocate to these position groups. Obviously it's quarterback first, right? Yeah. We've seen what happens if you have a bad quarterback. Probably offensive tackles next, then edge rushers after that. And then college football, I guess you'd probably go defensive tackle after that. I mean, I could walk my way down the line a decent while before I would get to wide receiver saying like, yeah, let's really compete with this. Right now, if you're telling me a player, if you're going to tell me it's like CD Lamb, I say, yeah, you give him the money. I mean, you figure out how to do some of those things. Some of these players where it's sorry, I almost died. It's Oklahoma trying to identify talent early. They have a whole new scouting thing that the recruiting does not, from my understanding, doesn't go through the coaches in the same way it used to. And so they're trying to identify people early, trying to get people on the edges and trying to find the most value that you can find there while being able to leverage the other stuff. And if other teams are going to overpay for that, you just let them overpay. You have to stay true to the work that you've put in. You have to stand true on that side of it. College football is much more run driven. College football is about who can control the clock and all that kind of stuff. The era of big offense seems to be done for completely at this point in time. I think it would be much better for Oklahoma to continue to invest in offensive line and defensive line, and then make sure you've got a quarterback who can take care of those things. I'm going to somewhat degrade an Oklahoma team, so I apologize about that. The 2008 Oklahoma Sooners team. It's not necessarily that Sam Bradford was thrown to a bunch of plumbers, but it wasn't necessarily thrown to a bunch of first rounders either, besides the tight end. If you can tell me I get a really good quarterback, a really good tight end, a really good running back, and a really strong offensive line, and some wide receivers that can make plays, I'll say that dog will hunt, on that side of it. I think you have to kind of balance where the allocation of resources are at that point in time. And I say that as, my favorite on-field wide receiver for a very, very long time was Ryan Broyles, right? I say that from that perspective, being like, he just was great. But I'm not for sure, 08 Ryan Broyles was the same guy at that sort of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's the beautiful thing about sports is things can surprise you. So I don't know why my camera just got blurry. It's probably because I'm moving around a lot, but oh well, I'm ugly. So this is fine. Anything else, gents, before we get out of here? All righty.
Good.
All righty. Well, again, when there's OU football news, we'll talk about it. We promise. But there's other things going on in sports, and we like sports, so we'll talk about those things as well. I guess before I forget, Peyton, Game 4, who you got and why?
Spurs. I think the clock struck midnight on the Knicks, and the whole 13 games and the whole thing like that. They found out that they're going to keep letting Brunson run the offense. And we've seen what those Knicks teams can do when he's the full offensive load on that. It does seem like they're doing a concerted effort to keep Cat out of the offense. If they can keep on doing that, we're doing great. And hopefully I think it's been that's the part where I'm not like too losing my mind about it. We've watched 3 really good games in my mind. So I've enjoyed the product, even though I haven't personally enjoyed the outcome of 2 of the 3.
Matt?
I still think the Spurs come back and win the series. I don't know. This is feeling a lot like, in my mind, I just think the Spurs are a better team. The Knicks are very fun and really good. Like, I'm not trying to take anything away from the Knicks. I just think the Spurs are a much better team. I know they're really young. They've had their young moments too, especially at the end of game 2.
Yeah.
But to me, this feels a little bit like the Bucks and the Suns series. It was at 2021 where the Suns win the first 2 games, and then the Bucks win the next 4 just because Giannis just goes into like Super Saiyan mode. I feel like we're probably going to get that with Wemby.
Yeah, I think I agree. I wonder what Brendan Sorsby thinks. Alan, do you have a take?
That's a good question. Let's see here. Hold on one second. I'm looking for okay. So right now the Knicks are minus 180 to win. The series, that is. I don't know. I think the Knicks get back in business tomorrow night. I think that the energy was too weird yesterday, and the excitement was a bit much. I think,
Why?
I think
What happened?
Great question, right? I don't know. Then again, maybe the Knicks got their luck mushed for whatever reason. I mean, a certain visitor. But no, I think they get back on track tomorrow.
That could mean anybody, really, like a certain visitor. I mean, we already
you saw there were huge. I mean, it was a cavalcade of stars out there yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So
we already call Wemby an alien, so we could also call him a visitor because they're here or whatever. All right, everybody.
Was that actually Cardi B? At the halftime
I think
show?
it was. Yeah. You mean Cardi
That's
D?
wild.
Yeah, Cardi D.
Yeah.
Barkley, man, he can get
No.
away with anything.
This
I just
this
mean,
ain't TNT, man. Like, this is the Mickey Mouse channel. You can't be
got
saying
it.
that.
I just mean like the Spurs in Oklahoma City. We're all like, hey, we got Red Panda for the halftime show. And the Knicks like, we've got Cardi
Yeah,
B.
Cardi
It's just an
B.
entirely different thing.
My
I
wife
think
had the
she's-
exact same reaction. She was like, "Is that Cardi B doing their halftime show?" Like, yeah, last
Untelevised?
year.
Yeah.
I was like, last year I think Hanson did a halftime show,
Yeah.
and they didn't even play Bop. So I don't know.
Yeah, they just played their new stuff. Yeah.
Man, you know the Knicks just based on how they've been covered and how they kind of carry themselves. If they blow this, they are going to have finished bracelets for next season, just like 2004 Oklahoma.
Oh no.
No. Well, as far as we can tell, they did finish because they played the Big 12 Championship and then no game happened afterwards. Yay! All right, everybody. Thank you again to Peyton, to Matt, to Alan. Thank you guys. Always enjoy having all four of us on, so that was fun. But everybody, thank you so much for listening to Through the Keyhole. Don't forget to go check out patreon.com/throughthekeyhole. Subscribe on our social media channels. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can watch us live and watch us afterwards. If you'd rather watch us than listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts. But again, for Matt, for Alan, for Peyton, for myself, Brady Trantham, thank you all so much for listening Through the Keyhole. Until next time, boom her.
Suit her.